In 1991, Somalia's central government completely collapsed. Rival clans and warlords carved up the country, and their armed militias began systematically looting international food shipments. This violence turned a severe drought into a man-made famine. This photograph captures the reality on the ground. Millions of civilians were pushed to the edge of survival, trapped between failing crops and warlords who hijacked the relief arriving from the outside world. To bypass the warlords and deliver aid, the United Nations authorized a military intervention. In late 1992, the U.S.-led Unified Task Force deployed thousands of heavily armed troops to Mogadishu. Their mission was specific: secure the food lines and protect relief workers. Overwhelming force secured the supply routes, mass starvation was halted, and the crisis stabilized in months. By May 1993, the United States turned control over to the United Nations. This new phase was called UNOSOM II, marked by white UN armored vehicles rolling into the capital. UNOSOM II arrived with a broader mandate. The mission shifted toward nation-building, tasking troops with disarming local factions and forcibly establishing a new central government. This political shift directly threatened General Mohamed Farrah Aidid, leader of the Somali National Alliance. To Aidid, the UN was no longer a neutral relief agency. They were an occupying force trying to dictate Somalia's future. By expanding the mission into political engineering, UN officials miscalculated the resistance. They assumed the warlords would comply. Instead, they provoked an armed insurgency. The tension broke on June 5, 1993. While inspecting a radio station, Pakistani peacekeepers were ambushed by Aidid's militia. 20 UN soldiers were killed, shattering the hope for a peaceful transition. The UN responded with Resolution 837. As this military after-action report notes, UNOSOM II adopted an offensive approach to operations. The United Nations was now effectively at war with Aidid. Over the summer, U.S. helicopters conducted strikes against Aidid's infrastructure. On July 12th, the Bloody Monday raid targeted a militia command center, killing numerous clan elders and religious leaders. The civilian casualties unified the local population against the intervention. Looking at the banners held by these protesters, the shift is clear. To the Somali public, the peacekeepers had become the enemy. By prioritizing military force over diplomacy, the UN lost the information war. Their troops were now isolated inside a hostile, unified city. To end the stalemate, the U.S. deployed Task Force Ranger. This elite unit of Army Rangers and Delta Force operators was sent to Mogadishu, specifically to capture Aidid's top lieutenants. On October 3rd, intelligence placed 2 of Aidid's lieutenants at a meeting in the center of the Baccarat market, a dense neighborhood firmly under militia control. Planners designed the operation as a rapid daytime raid. The assault force would rope in, secure the targets, and extract everyone via a ground convoy in roughly 60 minutes. That 1-hour timeline relied on U.S. tactical superiority. It did not account for the complexity of the urban terrain or the thousands of residents prepared to defend the neighborhood. The plan disintegrated minutes into the extraction. A Somali militant fired an RPG into the tail rotor of the Black Hawk Super 61. It was shot out of the sky, crashing deep in hostile territory. The extraction mission became a rescue operation. But shortly after, a second Black Hawk, Super 64, was hit and went down blocks away. The map shows a fragmented force. U.S. troops were scattered across city blocks as thousands of armed residents converged. The raid became an overnight standoff. At the second crash site, Delta snipers Gary Gordon and Randall Shugart died protecting the downed Khalid from advancing crowds. It took hours to organize a relief column heavy enough to reach the city center. A convoy of American infantry, Malaysian armored personnel carriers, and Pakistani tanks fought block by block through the darkness to reach the survivors. By dawn, the troops were extracted, with many running alongside the armored vehicles in what became known as the Mogadishu Mile. The raid was over, but it had turned into an urban war. The fight left 18 Americans and 1 Malaysian peacekeeper dead, alongside over 70 wounded. Somali casualties reached into the hundreds. The next morning, news networks broadcast images of deceased American soldiers being dragged through the streets, while residents celebrated atop the wreckage of the Blackhawks. The American public was shocked. Most had believed their military was deployed to deliver rice and secure supply lines. Now, They were watching their soldiers die in the middle of a civil war. Those visceral television broadcasts instantly broke the political will of the United States to continue the mission. Within days, President Bill Clinton ordered an end to the hunt for A-80. By early 1994, American combat troops were boarding transport planes to leave the country for good. Without U.S. military backing, the UNOSOM-2 mandate collapsed. The UN abandoned its efforts to reconstruct the government and pulled its remaining peacekeepers out the following year. The fallout created the Somalia syndrome, a deep aversion in Washington to large-scale military intervention and nation-building in unstable regions. The Battle of Mogadishu stands as a definitive historical warning. Mission creep can transform humanitarian relief into an unwinnable urban war.